Welcome, everybody. If you're watching live, as always, please feel free to ask questions along the way. If you think you might like to join me yourself, then please do get in contact. My details are on the channel's About page. Next week, December 6th, we'll be talking with Andy Piper, but today's guest is Dave Darko. Hello, Dave.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm fine. A bit tired.
Good.
But
You're tired. Oh.
we're rocking this. We're going to make it.
Would you like to introduce yourself, say who you are and what you get up to these days?
Yes. So I'm Dave. I call myself Dave Darko on the interwebs. I don't know. I like so many things to do and experiment with, but like 3D printing and PCB design. Sometimes it's artsy. Sometimes I try to make something functional that maybe not works. And yeah, sometimes I just try out new stuff on the Hackspace.
Nice. That sounds good. So as everyone's becoming accustomed, I like to sort of talk about people's history, how they got to where they are today. Would you mind just running us through from sort of childhood and how you came to where you are today? We were talking beforehand about your dad in your flat with his little lab.
Yeah, right. I already forgot that part again. But yeah. So yeah, we had this little flat, and my dad had basically no room to set up his workshop. So he built this cupboard thing where he was opening the door, folding down a table, and then sat in front of it, and he had everything in there, all his tools.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so he basically knew everything, heard everything, and whenever you passed him, yeah, or whenever I passed him, I was looking at what he's doing and was asking him. And I mean, I got the part where he was like, okay, I want to do this and that, and this is how I'm doing it. And then I kind of zoned out because I just at one point didn't know what he was talking about.
Sure.
Okay.
So do you have an idea of what it was he was up to? Was he like ham radio, or was he sort of more digital electronics? Do you know what was going on?
So there's a lot of model train thing that he was working with, but also just Lego Technics as well. And
nice.
Sometimes he was just, I think he made a little 4017 based lighthouse where the light was going around, but it was just 10 LEDs going around. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of scenery and stuff as well. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat. Okay. And the Lego Technics, is that something that you got involved with as well?
Yes, after a bit. So I was always building Legos, and my grandma told me, like, I was always sitting in front of the store when I got a budget. I was looking at all the kits, and I was like, okay, which one do I get the most fun out of, or the most parts out of?
Yeah.
And so I was always building something, and of course I at one point used the Lego stuff and the motors and the little switches and the 9-volt battery packs that you could connect. And I think the biggest thing that I was building was something like Johnny 5. I used the chain drive and stuff like this, and was able to just drive it around. And,
oh wow, awesome. Very cool. So this was kind of more of a mechanical Lego play more than the electronics side, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's that sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about school and things? Did you get involved with technology at all at that point, or was your school life a bit different?
Well, we had this opportunity. We had this little band room thingy, and me and some other friends were interested in just playing guitar and bass and drum.
Nice.
And I was singing a bit and wrote little cringy lyrics. And yeah, I don't want to read anything of that again, but
no, that's fine.
it was a fun time. And when you're in school, you don't really have that much of money, but you sometimes have the idea you could just build your own amp or maybe a guitar pedal. And yeah, that's what I did. I started, I was looking at the internet and found something that was like 20 euros in parts. It was a perf board and lots of transistors and capacitors, and it was way over my skill set.
Right.
And yeah, it was a distortion pedal.
Okay.
And yeah, let's just say I was not impressed by distortion. I didn't really know what to expect, but yeah, okay, it made the sound
Want
guitar
to make a
sound.
thing, you made it, but yeah. It's
Yeah,
difficult, I guess, back then. Certainly for me, before internet was really super prevalent. It's understanding, there's this thing, and I've seen a picture of it, or I've got the words, but what's it going to do?
yeah,
You have to kind of wait and find out, almost, don't you? Yeah,
yeah.
nice. I love hearing others who've been quite musical in their background as well. We had Liz last week, and we've had I've forgotten his name. I'm so sorry. What's his name?
Guy,
Guy.
was
Thank
it?
you. Yeah, Guy.
Yeah,
Hey, Guy as well. They're both into music and recording and things. So yeah,
yeah,
nice,
yeah.
cool.
Guy is
So sorry, Karen.
cool. Yeah,
Guys,
no,
cool.
I just wanted to show some appreciation for Guy because he's awesome.
Yeah, he does good stuff. Very good. So how about uni then? Did you left school, moved on to uni, and what were you aiming to do there?
Well, so uni was a bit. I definitely knew that I wanted to go into something with IT because
Okay,
I think I started with HTML stuff when I was 12 because
nice.
yeah, there was this little workshop and our math teacher was like, "Ah, yeah, go on, teach yourself HTML." And I made these little websites that had embedded video in there, and I was so yeah, I don't know, I was
Hooked.
enjoying the
Yeah,
thing. I was hooked, yeah.
yeah.
And so I definitely knew I wanted to learn more. And we did some. We had informatics, IT classes in school back then. So yeah, that was kind of set on. And when I got to university, though, yeah, I had some little inspiration from a friend, or he was like, "Okay, I'm not sure if this thing, the pure IT, is my thing, and I want to swap or switch to becoming a teacher in IT." So I was like,
Okay,
that sounds nice, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna swap too."
nice. Come to yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, that's how I almost became a teacher.
So you say almost. What happened there?
Well, so I I have this job now, and it started as a little thing that got me sidetracked in a way.
Okay,
And I was also working in a copy shop to get some money, and
right.
then I got some anxieties around math courses that I had to take. So yeah, it all kind of collapsed, and the uni was like, "Okay, you're not spending the time that you should here," and
Mm,
they were like, "Okay, you're out."
right.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Was that hard at the time, or were you kind of okay because actually, as you said, you were focusing most of your time on this other work? It's kind of
So
probably a good thing in a way, maybe.
I mean, for me, I was always like, okay, I still have this thing, and I'm still getting money from the copy shop job
Hmm.
because yeah, they're paying me to do just press print on some files, and they
Yeah.
come out of a printer. And so um, I was sure that I was going somewhere still, but my family was a bit unsure about that.
Hmm.
So that was kind of interesting, I guess.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, in the end, the day job became an actual day job, so
Right.
I didn't have to work at the copy shop anymore. And
Nice.
yeah,
And I
so
think I
then I
understood
was.
correctly is that's what you're still doing today, isn't it? That job
It
that you
is,
you were doing alongside
yeah,
uni. Yeah. Can you talk a
yeah.
bit more about what it is you do?
So um, yeah, I'm basically a web developer with a little bit extra, I guess.
Okay.
It's a very small company. We are
Yeah.
4 people, 5 people, maybe six now. There's one more coming, but it's
Okay.
always like a handful.
Yeah.
And um, when we started, it was basically two developers, and so we just did everything. We also didn't start with any frameworks in PHP, so we basically built a booking system for wakeboarding and water skiing schools, or cable parks as well.
Okay.
um, well, it started smaller. It definitely started with boats and little two-pole thingies where you were just dragged over the water, like
Hmm.
forwards and backwards.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, but
Okay. Nice. And so that's kind of grown a bit, and it supports you and a number of other people, which is brilliant. Well done
Yeah,
for that.
thank you.
Are you doing anything else aside from the web dev stuff in that role, or is it quite sort of software web focused?
So there came a point where we wanted to do those big cable parks where it's like 5 poles and you get dragged in a circle on the water.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of more customers, and it gets a bit confusing for the people that are just pulling you over the water because they have to constantly check if you're still on the water.
Okay. Right.
So there was a lot of misconduct going, I guess. So some people were just on the water that never paid, and some just shared a wristband where the time was written on by hand, but that got wet and then ripped off the hand.
Right. Okay.
So it ripped itself off of the hand. It didn't rip off the hand. So
that could have been bad. Yeah. Sorry.
No worries. I was just thinking about the plastic wristbands that we then got, because they
Okay.
no, they don't. I've never heard of a ripped off hand. Okay.
Moving on.
Anyways,
Moving on.
exactly. So yeah, there came a point where we needed some hardware to read wristbands and get that communicating with our system.
Okay.
And yeah, we found out that we could use JavaScript for that. Just read something that comes from HID, so keyboard input, and there were readers like that for RFID cards, but they were bulky, beige, and not really watertight.
Right.
So that's basically also how I came into 3D printing.
Okay.
Because in the end, I was like, okay, let me try something, boss. I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna check back in 5 hours and show you something, and if it works, we can use that. So I was using the SparkFun Pro Micro,
Okay.
that's also able to be used as a keyboard, and connected that to an RFC 522 RFID reader module that works over SPI.
Right.
And yeah, and then basically just use the code, the library that I was able to find, and then spit it out over HID keyboard.
Okay.
And the thing that I did to tell my boss that it works was just filming, scanning it, and sending him the input, and then sending the video to him. So he got like percent and the number, and then the video of me scanning it with that. I was like, okay, we're gonna do that.
Nice. Okay. And so that was a bit of a challenge, I guess. Waterproofing is always tricky.
No, yes.
And if you're in an environment where it's not just rain, it's people as well, it's I guess extra challenging.
Yeah. So we printed a little cone that was cut off on a diagonal angle, and it kind of looked like a lipstick because we also printed it in red, and had some rounded edges. So that's also the nickname for it. But the first thing that we built was just two. Well, it was the top half and then a little skeleton that held the electronics. And we put it in and used a lot of hot glue to seal it.
Okay.
So hot glue is not really a good sealant for stuff like this. We learned later.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the first 2 or 3 customers that we had that we actually sold this, they were sending them back at one point because they were put on a pipe, and the pipe had a hole so that the wire could go through.
Right.
But it was all built onto the little staging area that was basically already floating in the water.
Pontoon.
So it was moving, and whenever somebody jumped off, it was pushed into the water.
Okay.
So what sometimes happened was the water got pushed into the pipe and basically flushed, or just
out the top.
The water just got into the pipe and almost kicked it off.
Okay.
So yeah, that was interesting.
A couple of revisions required. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So I was kind of under the impression, I've not actually tried this, that 3D prints aren't particularly watertight. Does that mean that the top piece of that lipstick is something that you coated with conformal, or you sprayed it down somehow to help it out? Or It was good enough.
Well, it was good enough for
Okay.
a while, especially when you just use more parameters,
Thicker
like
walls. Yeah.
outside the
Okay.
shell. Yeah, thicker walls,
Okay. All right.
basically. But at one point, we got the top part CNC'd out of something more durable.
Right.
Because what also happened was when they were starting, they sometimes jumped, and they basically jumped with their wakeboards, and sometimes got stuck on the lipstick. So it was perfect
Oof. Okay.
slap against the layer lines, and they basically beheaded the thing.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, that was a bit
Interesting.
more expensive. But
I
yeah,
love hearing about all these problems from real world situations, which you never expect to happen. But
no.
great.
Yeah. So we later tested something with an O-ring and then some Vaseline, and then
Okay.
pushed it in, and then that was watertight for
Nice.
definitely a while. And we told them to redo the Vaseline,
Vaseline. Yeah.
yeah,
Petroleum jelly
just
stuff.
to that's I was reading that the other day, the label. Anyways, yeah, we told them to do that again, and if they don't do it, then it's basically their fault.
Okay. Fair enough.
We're good
Yeah.
on that part.
Okay. Nice. So that sounds like quite a fun job in a way. Do you get to do wakeboarding and things? Is that something that you do, or is this just a facilitation role?
Well, I definitely could do that, and I could definitely visit the parks and be like, "Hey, do you
There you
have any
go.
problems? Can I help you in any way?"
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's like 8 years ago now that I just tried water skiing
Okay.
for a bit, and it was you kind of have to get a groove for it, and you have to have some body muscle thing going for with yourself, like some core
Okay.
muscles trained. I don't know, but whenever it pulled me, it just pulled me face first into the
Yeah.
water.
That's nasty. Okay.
Yeah, and I at one point I was like, okay, I got 7 meters far. That's my win for today.
PB. Yeah. Personal best.
And I think that's now 8 years
Okay.
ago.
Fair
So
enough.
yeah,
I was wondering if this is potentially a sort of a role that you fell into because you were there already and you saw an opportunity, and but maybe not.
no,
Fair
that
enough.
was my boss. He was just
Okay.
yeah, he
Okay.
was going around the places, and then he collected ideas, and then he was like, okay, I'm gonna need 2 nerds. And my
Hey.
friend was like, I know another one. And then,
Nice. Cool. So I think you then sort of outside of work, you joined Hackaday.io in 2014, I think.
yes.
How did that come about, and how's that gone?
So I was reading Hackaday for a long time, the blog, and they were just announcing it,
Mhm.
that they have this community now, that I think it was back then that they got bought by Supplyframe.
Okay.
And yeah, they started this community platform. I was like, okay, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna maybe post a project there or two. And I
we
was
were
kind
saying while
of
talking beforehand that I think you've got now 105 public projects listed, so it's pretty good going. Well done. Yeah.
yeah, and some more that are not so public, but yeah, I don't want to check anymore. Because sometimes it's just ideas that I post and then forget about it. And sometimes it sounds like, oh, he's already done it, or oh, he has a
Right.
PCB, so it must be working. But yeah, not the case for everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, but back then I was so often on the platform. I was constantly checking for new projects, and when I saw something new, I was like, "Hey, I like this, and I like the aspect of that part, and
Okay.
cool that you did that." So yeah, I was just constantly giving input, liking projects, and was there from the beginning, I guess. And
Nice.
um,
So I think I was aware of it when it was announced initially, but I never really properly engaged with it. But it
yeah,
sounds like you found sort of almost quite a community environment there, which is really nice to hear.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
I mean, right now it's a bit quiet, and whenever I see the public chat where everybody's in, there's like 5 people online. I think it's
Right.
always the same mostly.
Okay.
But back then, yeah, I saw some projects, and I was basically it's basically how I met some other people as well in the it's, Alex, Tiny LED Metrics. We were working both on a project that involved the ESP8266, and it was basically a development board, but we were choosing then the GVS, the ground voltage signal rows, so you can easily connect the servo.
Okay.
And there were just so design choices that influenced each other's projects as well, and
Yeah.
it was kind of cool. And
Awesome. That's great to hear.
I mean,
and then in terms of other sort of public community, I don't know what to call it, community projects, I guess. I think MakerCast is something you've been quite involved with as well, isn't it?
oh yes.
Can you talk us a bit more about that behind the scenes, or how that, how your involvement's going and things?
So I think I was even in the first MakerCast that was streaming back then. So
Okay.
yeah, I've been on there quite often. It basically started with a bunch of YouTubers that already were in each other's comment section the whole time, and also on Twitter. And it was what's David Watts, Bitlooney, Brian Locke, Unexpected Maker, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So it all started like a meetup like this. We used StreamYard, and then we were streaming it on one channel, and then a month later it would be on a different channel. So we were just trying to collect some subscribers from all the platforms.
I think that's a great idea.
Or all the channels.
I love it. Yeah. So was that something that you were sort of involved with setting up and making happen, or is that something that just sort of came together out of everyone's interest, I guess?
Yeah. So last year I was quite often, we have this little Discord thingy, and I was often there, like reminding people, like, hey, it's only a week. Next week it's gonna happen. Who's gonna host?
Okay.
Yeah. So there were some low times where we weren't able to find a host, and I think last year we skipped one time, and this year I'm not sure if it's gonna be the third time where nothing is gonna happen. So
oh no,
I'm just hoping. Yeah, it's getting quite involved. I mean, you're doing this like once a week. We're struggling to find 4 people who are willing to talk about projects each month.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, we'll have to see if we can do something about that. Anyone who's watching, get in touch with the MakerCast team. Yeah. Awesome.
I mean, Liz was on the MakerCast as well.
Yeah, of course, actually. I forgot about that. Sorry.
No worries.
So I think we had a question from Nicholas earlier. Any ideas when the next episode of MakerCast will take place? And I think we might have just answered that unknown, but hopefully it'll happen again soon.
Yeah, so the last time I was at SuperCon, and Bitlooney was at SuperCon, and Tiny LED Metrics was
suddenly hits everyone, and they're all out of action.
I mean, technically, Stephen Horse was also on the MakerCast, and he was at SuperCon as well.
Okay.
So we almost could have done one there. Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Cool. Okay. Would you like to talk about some projects then? I'd love to see what you're up to, what you're getting on with. I think you've got something in particular you'd like to share with us, which is a very good looking. Well, I'll let you talk about it. There you go.
Yeah. So this is something that I'm working on for, well, technically 3 years, because 3 years ago, I saw Greg Devil's D20 on at SuperCon first, and then later on at the Congress. And the Case Communication Congress that it's happening between Christmas and New Year's Eve. And yeah, so I was also there with my Hackspace Xine, and we had this huge installation of a dodecahedron, where we had LED strips on the edges of the dodecahedron,
Yep.
and I think we had every side was a meter, or almost a meter. So it was quite the huge installation.
Mhm.
So in my head, I was like, okay, so if you ever do something with LEDs on the side, it's got to be a dodecahedron. And yeah, so then I had to think about, okay, if I'm going to do this, what would the PCB look like?
Mhm.
And there's like, it's a little bit tricky
Okay.
to arrange them, because I'm putting them basically in a little square that's a bit more not square, triangle that's a bit squished.
Mhm.
So you get kind of it kind of looks
Bit of a pattern going
well
on.
arranged. Yeah, there's a little pattern, but then it also, you have to, where's the camera thingy?
I was going to say, should I share my screen? I've got a render of it up. There we go. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that helps you explain.
I think the next picture explains it better.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look. That one there. Yeah.
There, right? So it's
Perfect.
triangles, and then I have the center LED that's kind of off, but well, it's always in the center. But then you have those triangles
I
that you
see.
can take and then turn around by 72 degrees, I think.
And how did you come up with
so
the layout? Because that's something that, I mean, was it just sort of trial and error before it worked, or is that a well-known mathematical problem that you used to solve this?
I don't really know anymore. I think I was trying to just put them so it kind of looks like it's in a good, I don't know,
Even distribution and
yeah, even
gridish
distribution,
and
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I think I started with using these 5 center LEDs and then moving them somewhere, but that didn't go well, and
Yeah. I think it
kinda
looks great
weird.
because there are lots of options where it will sort of start to create lines that go out from the center, and this doesn't do that, which is, I think, really, really nice. So well done. Yeah, cool. We got a comment from Jason, the person himself who plays with LEDs, saying it's beautiful. So well done.
Yay! Yeah, I was thinking
Cool.
about the Fibonacci
Yeah.
sequence or something else, maybe trying that, but then I was like, okay, maybe the triangles are easier to just put there. And I actually exported the SVG into KiCad and made it just a footprint, and then I manually placed the LEDs where they were supposed to go,
Okay.
just by eyeballing it. I
Are
didn't
you
write
able
a
to?
script or something.
Okay. Are you able to show us it working as well? That'd be great to see.
Yes. So it's a bit of a interesting thing around that refresh rate.
Okay.
So this is like the fastest that it's ever been. And
Okay.
Before I had it like this, it was basically 2 frames per second to
Right.
show an animation on there. And not even an animation, it was just turning on everything in a rainbow pattern and turning it off again.
Okay.
And I was I even did some math at SuperCon with Robin Reiter, and I was at one point had the opinion that I would send 500,000 bytes or bits.
Okay.
I'm not sure anymore, but I was like, okay, yeah, that matches then that I only can have so many frames per second.
Yeah.
But I really thought that I would send so much data over to the LEDs, but well, it wasn't like that.
So how are the LEDs actually wired up? Are they the sort of the standard serial WS2812 type things, or what are we working with here?
So Greg Devil also posted a wonderful blog post about this, going into detail on why he chose to do XYZ, and he didn't went for smart LEDs. for the reason, I might making this up now. He had like two reasons, and so the NeoPixels, they when they set to off with 000, they still consume 1 milliamp per LED basically. So
Okay.
with 612 LEDs on this cube,
It's got a bit, yeah.
that would be 612 milliamps in
For nothing.
just doing nothing. And then there's not even the controller in here. So that would be like, it would basically deplete the battery within, well, now 2 hours maybe.
Yeah.
Or 1.5. Yeah, so I was looking at controllers and normal RGB LEDs then. And the cool thing about the controllers is you can set the current first, and then you have the range of the 255 bits. Well, you can have a range of PWM values still then, which is nice.
Yeah, great. So the on, I presume, the back side, if I just show the screen again, you got the LEDs here on the front side, and I presume on the back side is where you've got the active control, and it's kind of driving like a matrix then, is it?
Yes. So the controller is ISLI, I think. Oh yeah, it even says it there. IS31. Yeah, I felt. Never mind. It's an I2C chip, and it can control up to 64 RGB LEDs.
Okay. And how many do you have per panel?
Per panel, it's 51. So
perfect.
I had some options on where to connect which LED, so I have a better time with the routing.
Yeah.
Which was kind of nice. But I still had to go to 4-layer boards and just use some of the layers as well for routing the signals.
Sure. Okay.
And then I forgot one. And all the panels that I ordered from JLC PCB came back with one LED not glowing.
Oh no.
I had to go in with magnet wire and soldering iron and connect it from one LED to like one over to the next, so it would glow.
Very frustrating.
Yeah, and that wasn't all.
It looks great now, so well done.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll just show off these pictures very quickly as we're talking. There you go. So the PCB design is yours. The I'm going to call it the frame. Is that yours as well? You 3D printed that, I presume?
Yeah. So I tortured myself with OpenSCAD, and I didn't even know how to describe the angle that I was looking for. Oh yeah, that's the missing LED.
Oh, I see.
I was like, oh
no.
Yeah. So with a case, I was designing everything, and then I was like noticing that there's like this little gap in my case which wouldn't work to print. And in the end I found out what to name this angle between those sides.
Right.
So that was interesting to Google as well. And
do you remember the name?
I started dihedral.
Okay. I haven't got a clue, so don't look at me.
Yeah. I've put it on the Hackaday page as well.
Okay.
But that was definitely interesting to design in OpenSCAD, and then I printed it in with normal printers, 3D printers, and that wouldn't work so well. So I kind of had to get into resin printing, and luckily I was just buying a 3D printer, a resin printer from a Kickstarter thing, which I just did because I couldn't understand why everybody was like, oh, you should never buy a 3D printer from Kickstarter. Big companies shouldn't do that. So the whole community was like, Anycubic, why are you selling a resin printer on Kickstarter? I was like, oh man, this is so annoying. I'm gonna buy a resin printer from Kickstarter. And the experience was kind of weird. So yeah, definitely you should buy it in a shop, and then
right.
Yeah, but the printer is nice. I got everything, but it came in like days apart, and some part got there, something got here, and
very good. We've just had a comment from Clive. Thank you, Clive. It is indeed the dihedral. Here you go. Look at that. Hey,
awesome.
Good memory.
Yeah.
Neat.
But yeah. Right. I think I was talking about the speed of the refresh rate, because
Yes.
there
Please
was
talk more. Yeah.
kind of frustrating, or after you had this like, nice, but also, why didn't I do that before? um, the I managed to change the library so it would just send all the PWM values at the same time, or in a burst, instead
Mhm.
of, hey, look at this page, please change a PWM value of this LED. So
Okay.
I think I ended up, instead of sending 4, or I think maybe 8 even bytes, I ended up just sending like 3 plus all the bytes that I needed for the color values,
Yeah.
which was
Nice.
nice.
Okay.
And I got to 10 frames per second, and then I hooked it up to the oscilloscope. Was like, wait a second, that's not 400 kilohertz. Maybe the people who are constantly using pull-ups on their I2C lines have a point.
Okay.
So yeah, I never put any I2C pull-ups on the PCBs itself. So
Mhm.
I had to just put them on the microcontroller that I'm using, and then I got to 400 kilohertz, and now I'm
Nice.
at 16 frames per second, which is nice coming from 2. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was
That's,
happy
that's
about that.
very good upgrade. So the remind me how many sides this has?
12.
It's 12. Okay. And so does the chip, the ILSI chip, have the ability to have 12 addresses? Is that what's going on? Or are you addressing them all as the same thing and just mirroring all the faces?
It's even 16. So
Okay.
it has like 2 address pins, but you
Right.
can connect it to either ground, VCC, like high or low, but then you can also connect it to the SCL or SDA
Okay.
lines. So you got like 4 options, which means you have 16 addresses,
Yeah.
which is weird, but also nice, because
That's
I
good.
only needed 12.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Cool. So that means, unless it's a resistor like fitment option, that you have 12 different boards, or is it sort of a configuration depending on which components you place? It gives it the address.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I made this little jumper thing
Yep.
where you can solder on 04 or 2 resistors with a 0 ohm value, and
Yep.
then that works.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Very good. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this project, or should we have a chat about another one?
I
Oh, I,
think
I
I'm
think you've submitted a talk. Do you want to just mention that quickly? Give yourself a shout out.
right.
Yeah.
So I hope it. I mean, I don't really know if I'm gonna do the talk, but
Okay.
the last time I heard the number of talks handed in was like 42 talks for something that goes on for 4 days, and they have, I think, 2 stages.
Okay.
So I
Maybe.
might
Maybe.
be doing a talk about it, which is between Christmas and New Year's Eve, because it's like a little. I mean, there's Chaos Communication Congress, which would be the last time it was in Leipzig, and it was 17,000 people. So handing a talk in there is this
A little
thing
bit
where I was
different.
like, I mean, yeah, there's also they have so many people who want to have a talk, hold a talk there, and they always check for diversity, which is great, because you don't want to have like uh, see people looking like me the whole day and think, oh yeah, okay, bring in the nerd. Anyways, so there's going to be this little event happening, because the Chaos Communication Congress isn't
Mhm.
happening this year.
Okay.
They canceled it, and so there's like a little group of friends from different tech spaces who were like, okay, we should do something small,
Right.
and yeah, so
Nice.
that's where I was like, I'm gonna talk about my cube
Well, I
for
hope it
half an
goes
hour.
well. Hope you get accepted and the talk goes well.
Yeah,
Good luck.
thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Should we move on to your next project that you'd like to talk about, which I think was? Oh, go for it.
Yes. So Hackaday, once again coming in as an inspiration of sorts. Oh yeah, there's the other one. which is nice. So it's been 12 years now that I saw this article, and I was like, okay, at one point I want to have one, but these things here, the IME Girltech Messenger, they are basically unobtainium unless you want to pay 200 or 300 euros for it on eBay. And so I always saw it and was like, I want a pink pager. I want this. And then there were like cool people who posted how they turned this into a spectrum analyzer, because this thing communicates over a little chip, the CC1110. That's it's able to talk. I think it's a sub gigahertz thing, so you can go into different ranges, because it can go from 300 to 330 megahertz, and then the range around 430 megahertz, and then somewhere between 800 and 900, I think.
Yep.
For the different countries to talk to other pages, I guess.
Yeah. And so with that chip, it sounds like you can make a spectrum analyzer. And is that just based on tuning it, listening for the RSSI, and then moving along to the next frequency?
Yeah. And doing that very fast, I guess. Which is nice. And there were other little things. Somebody made a game for it, and at the time when Hackaday was posting about it, it was like, this thing costs $15 and you can get it on eBay. Like,
all of a sudden.
the Hackaday effect, of course, is like, okay, yeah, you can't get it, or you have to pay loads of money.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while to get one where I was comfortable paying that amount. And I got one for 70 euros.
Okay.
Which was for me acceptable, because I bought other things that were around this and I never used them.
Right.
But as one does.
Yeah.
It also happened that when I was in America, I found one on a completely different platform for 60 euros. I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this too.
Now I have two. I can talk to myself.
Exactly. You might break one and then you never know. So you test on the other one, break that one too, I guess. But no. So when I had the first one, I was like, okay, I have to figure out how to program this, because there were people who did that. Okay, they have left some clues in blog posts. So I was like, okay, maybe I can find it out now. And the first thing that I basically learned is, everybody's using a good fed. What the heck is a good fed?
Step one.
And so I learned, it's a little thing that Travis Goodspeed builds, and it's based on the MSP 430, and it's basically something that you can talk to through, I think it's Python scripts on your computer that then talk to the MSP, and then you can talk to other devices over SBI or other stuff that he has implemented.
Okay. Is it kind of similar to a bus pirate then, that kind of thing?
Yeah, basically.
Right.
And it later turned into the Great Fed that also turned into something else. I'm not sure.
Right.
But
I'm aware of these names, but I've not looked into them. So
yeah.
Nice.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy a good fed, but there was no good fed to buy, because it was I think for at least 5 years nobody was building them anymore or selling them.
Okay.
So I just thought to myself, okay, I'm not gonna order boards where there's a mini USB connector on it, and there's corners that aren't round, and I don't know, some other pet peeve where it was like, okay, I'm not gonna spend too much money on that.
Okay.
And and I also had to find chips. Like the MSP 430 was basically unobtainium, but then I got them, and I also found them on AliExpress, but the seller got back to me and was like, we checked, we don't have them anymore.
Can't
Sorry.
find them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I I think I bought one from America and two from Australia. And
Right.
yeah, in the end, I had all the parts, and I can show
There you go. Look at that.
this here.
So is this a redesigned GoodFet with rounded corners
Yes.
and USB-C?
So I redesigned it in
Yeah.
KiCad, and
Okay.
yeah, it has the CH340C, where yeah, I still have some here, so that was easy.
Mhm.
And yeah, I thought, okay, and also there was never uh, a 3-volt regulator on it, because
Right.
he was using the FTDI chip, which has an integrated controller.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, but the regulator in the FTDI was only good enough for 50 milliamps, I think.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I don't have one anyway, so I'm going to put one on there.
Right.
600 milliamps should be good enough for the IMME.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did some things, and also pink LEDs. And I see
Yeah.
Johnny Bergdahl in the chat,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he's always the first one to call for pink LEDs. So mission
Brilliant.
accomplished there.
Very good.
Yeah, but yeah, but then when I had everything put together, I wasn't able to put any programs on there because I got lost in all the tutorials that I read, and wasn't that well documented.
Mhm.
So I put it aside for a bit, and 2 days ago, I took everything. I had everything on the table anyways, because I'm moving things around to make more room, but I also
Mhm.
don't have that much room. So yeah, it was laying on my table, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this again, and I was successful, which
Awesome.
is nice. And then I also got successful in programming this.
Oh, look at that.
So now I have the spectrum analyzer going on the IMME.
That's so
You can
good.
also, oh yeah, that's scaling for that axis, and then you
Okay.
can, it jumps sometimes because you can't really read in that area. Oh yeah,
Is
that's
that
interesting.
something's going on there? Yeah.
I have
That's
no idea
actually
what though.
quite quick. It's much quicker than I was expecting to do that scan. That's just over 10 megahertz, is it? I can see, or 20 megahertz
Uh,
even. Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
that's refreshing quite often.
Very good.
That's 430 coming.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
And so is this
So
kind of tethered and it needs to be connected to the computer to work, or is this the great
no,
FET
it's
allows you
just,
to program the flash and it's just tethered because you're still working on it, kind of thing?
yeah, because I have the
Aha.
battery. Well, yeah, I have the battery compartment blocked because of the wires still,
Gotcha.
and I gotta find a better way to program this without leaving it like this, so I can use the batteries, because only with the batteries connected, the backlight works. And
Oh, okay.
I've not seen anybody use or show how to work with the backlight, because there's some flip-flop magic going on, because you can switch it on, but the IMME can also turn it off again.
Right.
And there's a pin for that, and somebody found it. So maybe this is gonna be my first trying to program something, compile it, and then throw it on there, a blink with a backlight,
Yeah.
which would be nice.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of yak shaving, this project has been quite a mission, hasn't it? By the sounds of it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you have to get your hands on them, and then you had to get yourself a good FET and redesign the board and put it together and find some components, and then get the
Yep.
toolchain up and running. And that's been a bit epic.
Yes.
But you got there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly because somebody posted a blog post in 2016 on how to get the good FET going on a Mac.
Okay.
So even back then, the Pi serial was already too old to use.
Right.
Or no, the program just got too advanced, and all the good fit material was too old at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to use a legacy module for it.
Okay.
And yeah, I just followed the steps, and then I was suddenly able to talk to the good fit, and
Right.
yeah, that was nice.
All of a sudden, sprung into life. Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So I think the last thing that you mentioned while we are talking beforehand is the hoodie that you're wearing right now.
Yes.
Which you put together yourself. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Can you
So
tell us about that?
yeah, that's the nice thing about being at a hackspace, I guess.
Yeah.
You can just learn new stuff and learn how to use machines like the sewing machine or the plotter. And so I was before SuperCon, I was able to visit my niece and my sister and her husband over Halloween.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of pumpkin festivals and a lot of possibilities to wear a costume. So I thought the easiest way to walk around would be like the Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse comic thing.
Okay.
So Peter B. Parker, he falls into this other universe and he rips off his pants and shoes and everything else. So he was only wearing his top and then a Parker and then I think sweatpants.
Okay.
So that sounded like an easy enough costume to
Nice.
take with me. So I only had to do the sweatshirt, which is basically taking apart the blue sweatshirt and the red sweatshirt and then
Okay.
trying to cut them. Well, you also have to take care for the sewing.
The seam allowance kind of thing.
Seam allowance, yeah, that's the thing. So I had to
you don't
add
just
more
butt
seam
them up,
allowance
you have
for
to
the
sort
red.
of, yeah.
Nice. And then
Okay.
still it got a bit floppy, but it was fine.
It looks
and I
great.
was sitting there with a silver pen, drawing all the lines by hand, and using the foil cutter, the hackspace.
Okay, for the spider.
The spider,
Nice.
the front and the back. Wow.
Yeah, brilliant. Good stuff. So is the hackspace something that you attend, or are you sort of involved with running it as well?
Well, technically I'm also involved. So,
Okay.
well, technically it's weird to say, but so like 3 years ago they were posting on Twitter like, "Hey, we might have co-working tables soon,"
Okay.
and I thought, okay, that would be nice to work there, and then you don't have to go in the evening to your hackspace anymore because you're already there. And that was always a hurdle for me to just get out after work and see other people. So that sounded nice. I was always getting there whenever it's open. I was like, "Hey, Felix, about the co-working spots, can I get one?" And at one point he was like, "Yeah, okay, Dave, you're gonna get one. Leave me alone."
Stop asking.
So when you're like Monday to Friday in the hack space, you happen to see a lot and know a lot about the space. So people start asking you questions.
Okay.
And you get involved in that. And then you see people working on their projects. And you also get involved in that. And you ask them, "Hey, how's it going?" So, at this point, I'm also part of the group that tries to form decisions about the space. Stuff like this, and I'm inviting cool people so they can take pictures and then post it on Twitter so we can get some. That was actually funny or cool to have the opportunity to just invite Stephen Hawes. He was he was in Munich for Electronica, and then with his team or friends or I don't know what he calls them. Probably not ghouls and goblins. But yeah, he was in Berlin for a week after that, and I was like, "You could totally come over. I can give you a tour." And since we've basically, well, we're kind of internet friends in a way. We talk on Discord in this group. We had him as a guest on MakerCast, so I was like, okay. I talked to him. He lent me his soldering iron at SuperCon to solder Joey Castillo's open book thing. So I was like, okay, I can give you a tour to space. Yeah. And yeah, he came, and I think they had a good time.
Fingers crossed. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. So I think there's one last work in progress project that we might quickly talk about before wrapping up. Is that okay? You happy to do that?
Yeah.
Should I share my screen again? So this is the replacement PCB for a calculator watch. Can you talk to us about that?
So I started this, and I was I was looking at it from the hardware side, and wanted to do a replacement board, and I was looking at chips and how to control LCDs, and learned a lot from that. And then I was also working on a Casio keyboard thingy that also had a display, so I learned from that, and it was like a constant thing going. But yeah, so I was looking at LCD, how to control LCDs, and then Joey Castillo came in and was like, "Hey, there's this little chip you can use, the SAM-L22." I was like, "Great, nice, cool, I'll take it." And I didn't really realize at that point that he also made the Casio F91W replacement boards with the same chip.
Right.
So I learned that later. And
Okay.
but yeah, I had a good run, and I was thinking about the hardware, and was looking where the switches are and how I can place them. And yeah, it was also, I think, my first KiCad design. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I thought it was a nice opportunity to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's also, I think the header is in the button there.
Don't talk about that. It's
yeah,
working.
I fixed
as
that,
but
yeah, I sadly forgot to add some diodes on the buttons, so this kind of bumped me out a bit. So I put it aside.
Okay.
And yeah, so yeah, that kind of frustrated me.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and the LCD part also was something that I've never done before, as well as programming something in C for ARM chips and the SAM-L22, something like that. So yeah, I kind of lost a bit the interest in working on this further. But when I spoke to Joey Castillo at SuperCon, he was like, "Hey, if you have any questions, you can definitely ask me about it. It would be so nice to see this working." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Yeah." And
absolutely.
So this is on my I should work on this again list. But yeah, so if I have some more animations on this cube running, I'm gonna look into the watch again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So just to recap, the idea was to keep the LCD and the housing, but just replace the PCB. Is that right?
Yeah.
Nice. And there is a PCB that exists, but you just haven't got any further. Is that kind of roughly where you're at?
Yeah. So
awesome.
So I think the only thing that I did was I was compiling something once and was able to put that on a chip, but none of the pins were set correctly, so I never would know how to if the display is set up right. And I don't think I even was able to get to a blink, because there's an LED for the backlight, and I thought, like, this is like a little goal I can do, make it blink. Then I was like, okay, I have no idea where to even get started.
You get there. Yeah. People help. People, I'm sure, are willing to help. But that's awesome. Well done. I hope you get back to that and you enjoy making progress as well. Very cool.
I hope so too.
Great. So I think that's about it for today. Is there anything you'd like to say just before we close up? Any shout outs you'd like to make, etc.?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, I think, in that case.
And thank you for having me. Definitely.
It's been great to talk and hear about your projects and your story as well. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, bye-bye from us, and I'll see you next week. I'll be talking with Andy Piper. Bye-bye.
Bye.